So good day everyone. So we're here in our video lesson, specifically in lesson number 2. But before we start, let's have this quick game. Though you're just watching, you may pause the video so you may think the answer in our game. So this game is called Picture Speaks. So here are our directions. So first, just observe the pictures that will be shown on the screen and study its details carefully, then give your own interpretation of the picture. So you are free to give your own interpretation based on what will you see. So here, if you're going to see a swing in this kind of mood or situation, what will be your interpretation? So you may pause this video for a while and think of your own interpretation of this picture. Okay, next. How about this picture of sunset? What emotions or how are you going to explain this kind of picture? Next. Okay, next. Next. And then, okay, so that's the last one. So later we'll connect these pictures to our lesson for today. So we're now in lesson 2, which is the poetry from the archipelago. So do you have any idea regarding the definition or meaning of archipelago? So it talks about the group of islands. So here in our country, we are consisting of almost 7,000 islands. So basically, what we're going to talk today is the poetry from the Philippines. But our focus is the poetry. So let's have our learning objectives. So at the end of this lesson, you are able to first analyze the elements of a poem. Next, critic literary text using reader response criticism and or formalism. And then last one, to appreciate the contribution of canonical Filipino writers to the development of national literature. So here are our table of contents. So first, we have literature and introduction to poetry. Second, elements of literature. Third, categories of poetry. And fourth, formalism and reader response criticism. So let's start with defining literature. So according here, it came from the Latin word or term litera. So once we said litera, it is a letter of the alphabet. And once you heard literature, it doesn't only focus on written works itself, but it also includes stories told in the oral tradition and visual literature. So let's go back to the pre-colonial period wherein our ancestors focus more on oral tradition or oral literature. So because of this oral tradition, we have now our literature. And it has classifications and or variation depending on the language used. For example, here in our country, we are able or our writers could use different language based on the regional context or whatever they want to create. So, for example, they can use Tagalog or other regional dialects like Bisaya, and so on. Next, we have national origin. Next, historical period, genre, and subject matter. So later, we will talk more about of it. So we have key characteristics of literature. So first, we have expression of ideas and emotions. So commonly, our writers express their ideas and emotion through writing a story and so on. And di ba kapag nagbabasa kayo ng literature, hindi kayo nakaka-feel ng boredom or ng ano man kasi nakaka-relate kayo sa ideas and emotions na create ng author or ng writer because of its characteristics. Next, it has aesthetic value or the writer uses flowery words or any aesthetic value that can contribute to the beauty of his or her writing or text. Next, it has cultural significance or it reflects the culture, tradition, values of our country. For example, um, di ba, I asked you to read the short story of Footnote to Youth. So, what do you think are the cultural significance or cultural value, tradition of that specific text or that specific short story. So, sumasalamin doon yung Filipino tradition when it comes to marriage, yung pag-aas ng permission, 'di ba? When Dodong mm, have decided to marry Taeyang, so nag-ask siya ng permission sa father niya. So, ganun yung nakapaloob sa cultural significance. It reflects the culture of a specific country. Next, it has entertainment. So, di ba, lalo sa mga bookworm, na-enjoy natin yung pagbabasa ng stories or any kinds of literature. Kasi hindi naman porket libro yun, boring na agad yung maiisip natin. Kasi it has different characteristics like this na nakakapag-engage sa mga readers. Next, it has also education. So, we use it in education, lalo na yung mga gawa ng famous writers natin, Filipino writers, as well as yung create na novel ni Rizal, which are the No Limitang Here and Il Filibusterismo, though they are literature, stories, but it's still applicable to education. More likely, sa Filipino siya naka-incorporate, sa Filipino siya pinag-aaralan, 'di ba? So, aside from those fiction, literature, we have different kinds of literature like magagamit natin for entertainment and magagamit natin for education. So, ang under ng education, yung mga academic text na ginagamit natin sa pag-aaral nga mismo. And we use it or it has characteristics of inspiration. Next, we have main genres of literature. So first we have poetry, second fiction, third non-fiction, and then the last one drama. But our main focus here is poetry. So hindi naman na po natin i-discuss sa lesson na to yung fiction, non-fiction, and drama. And before we proceed, I have a question. Do you know that difference between poetry and poem? So you may pause muna to think. Ayan. So ayun nga, sabi nga dito, 'di ba? Poetry is a genre. So, kapag nakakarinig po tayo ng salitang poetry, ano siya, genre siya, broad term siya for arts. So, how about the poem? So, yung poem, under po siya ng poetry. It is the written form. And sa poetry, marami tayong types niyan. We have narrative, poetry, lyric poetry, spoken word poetry. So, under lahat yon ng poetry. Okay, so I hope you're getting it. So let's move on to the definition of poetry. So according here, it is one of the oldest genres of literature. And oral literature from anywhere in the world takes the poetic form. So, di ba nga, ang poetry ay sobrang evident during the pre-colonial period. Pero hindi naman natin pwedeng sabihin na ang poetry ay nag-exist lang sa pre-colonial kasi lahat po ng bansa ay nakaranas ng ganong period. Since before, pare-pares lang naman tayong wala pa sa technology era, sa 21st century era. That's why lahat po nakaranas ng oral tradition. So, bakit kaya sa tingin nyo mas gamit before ang poetry? Ang poetry. So, dahil 'di ba ang poetry may element siya ng rhyming, repetition. So, mas madali siyang nagre-register at mas madali siyang natatandaan ng mga tao before. So, hindi mahirap para sa kanila na i-pass down yung mga poetry, narrative poetry man yan, or kung ano man. Kasi nga, dahil madali para sa kanila gamitin yung poetry. And it is a form of artistic expression that uses language to evoke emotion, paint vivid imagery, and convey complex ideas. Once you read a poem, specific poem, di ba, hindi ka lang naman basta nagbabasa. Most of the time, kapag nagbabasa ka, you are involving your imagination. And through your imagination, hindi lang naman yung sense of sight yung gumagana sa'yo. Every senses that you have ay gumagana. So, hindi lang sense of sight, maging sense of smell, sense of touch, sense of taste, and so on. Okay? So, next. So, dito na tayo sa parts ng poem. So, I'm sure lahat naman na kayo alam nyo na yung stanza, di ba? So, it is the main building block of a poem consisting of verses or lines. So, we have here an example, the whispers of the wind. So, here in our example, this is our stanza. Okay? And then yung lines daw na to ay we call it verses. Pero here, meron tayong appropriate called sa per line na meron sa isang stanza. For example, kapag meron ka lang isang line sa stanza mo, we call it monostage. Kapag dalawa naman, couplet. Kapag tatlo, tercet. And kapag apat, quatrain. So here in our example, it is quatrain. Okay, so next we're here in meter. So it determines how long every line in stanzas should be. And it also measure using the number of syllables or poetic foot. So yung meter sa madaling sabi, mini-measure nito or inaalam nito kung gaano lang kahaba yung kada line sa isang stanza. And also, may tinatawag po tayong poetic foot or feet. So naka-base siya sa syllables na meron tayo. So sa pag-identify ng meter, ang una nating ginagawa is i-identify muna natin or bilangin muna natin kung ilang syllables ang meron per line. So, bilangin natin. So, the wind, it whispers through the trees. So, as you can see, we have 8 syllables in our first line. Okay? So, next, para ma-identify natin kung ilang feet ang meron sa first line natin, alamin natin kung nasan yung stressed syllables. So, are you familiar with stressed and unstressed syllables? So, kapag sinabi nating stressed syllables, yun po yung may DN. Kapag pronounce mo yung isang syllable, nandun yung DN. Kapag unstressed, kabaliktaran lang, soft lang yung pag-pronounce mo doon sa syllable na yon. Okay? So, for example, the wind, it whispers through the trees. So, dito ma-identify natin kung nasan yung DN per syllables. So, dito hinatin na natin siya. So, itong may first slash po dito, ito na po yung first foot natin. So, bakit? Kasi naka-wind po yung stressed syllable. Kung nakanino po yung stressed syllable, doon natin ma-identify or doon natin i-start yung poetic foot or feet natin. So, the wind, so ito na po yung first foot natin. It whispers. So, nakanino yung stress na kay whispers. So, kaya nandito po yung second slash. So, ito na po yung, mayroon na tayong dalawang poetic feet. Next po ay through. So, since isang syllable lang naman yan, na kahit through na yung um, pangatlong poetic foot. Okay? And the trees. So, total, meron tayong apat na poetic foot or feet. Okay? So, I hope you're following. So, dito may tawag din sa per foot or feet na meron tayo. So, kapag isa lang po yung foot na meron sa isang line, ang tawag doon ay monometer. Monometer. Second ay kapag may 2 feet ka sa isang line, ang tawag po natin ay diameter. Diameter. Kapag tatlo, trimeter. Kapag apat, tetrameter. So, since we have 4 poetic feet po dito, we call it tetrameter. Okay, hanggang octometer or 8 feet on a line. So next, we have rhyme. So alam kong familiar naman na kayo sa rhyme, but commonly ito yung isa sa pinaka mahirap gawin sa isang poem kasi 'di ba kapag sa rhyme, it has repetitive pattern. So dapat masunod mo 'yon. Pero later on may malalaman kayo regarding the rhyme. So here in our first example, it is evident na meron tayong rhyme. So, makikita natin siya sa first line. So, we have trees and sa third line, leaves. Okay, sound like sila, di ba? Next, yung second line, we have clear and sa fourth line, we have near. So, next, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo. We have 5 types of rhyme. So, una, yung end rhyme. Ito yung common type ng rhyme. So, yun yung kanina natin nakita dito sa first example natin. Na ang rhyme, nakikita natin sa end ng per line sa isang stanza. Okay? How about the imperfect rhyme? Ito yung rhyme na parang ipinilit lang, hindi talaga sila magkatunog. Okay? And commonly, tinatawag din tong slant rhyme. Okay? For example, itong shape and keep ay nasa end ng magkaiba sila ng line. So, for example, yung shape and keep, yun yung nasa dulong line, magkabilang nasa dulo nga mismo. Okay, so kapag binasa natin yung shape and keep, medyo malayo sila ng tunog. Okay, hindi sila identical. Okay, how about the love and move? Malayo din, di ba? Though, may similar letters like V and E, pero they have no identical sound. So, we call it imperfect rhyme. So, next, we have internal rhyme. Sa internal rhyme naman po, yung rhyme ay nasa iisang line lang. Okay? So, they are in between. So, for example, I went to town to buy a gown today. So, as you can see, nasa iisang line lang po yung rhyme. So, ano yung magka-rhyme dito na words? Yung town and gown. Okay? Next, we have masculine rhyme. So, it is the rhyming between stress syllables at the end of the verse line. So, for example, yung word na receive and believe, ayan, magkatunog sila, magka-rhyme sila, pero yung stress ng syllable ay nasa dulo, nasa huli. Katulad nito, receive, believe. Ayan. So, yung feminine rhyme naman, kabaliktaran lang siya ng masculine rhyme. Kapag feminine rhyme, nasa unahan yung stress ng syllable. Okay, so for example, table and fable. Next, we have rhythm. So, it is the beat and pace of the poem. So, yung rhythm and meter po ay magkadugtong silang dalawa. Okay? Kung ilan yung, ang tatandaan nyo sa rhythm, kung ilan yung poetic feet na meron sa isang line, ganun din yung bilang ng beat niya. Okay po? So, for example, dito nga sa first line natin, the wind that whispers through the trees, ilan yung poetic feet na meron tayo dyan? We have 4. So, yung beat niya ay 4 din. So, wag tayong malito kasi baka ang akala natin ay nakabase yung beat or rhythm sa syllables. Hindi po ganon. So, nakabase siya sa poetic fit na meron tayo. So, kung ano, pwede nyong i-pause to saglit, tapos try nyong gamitin yung hands ninyo, ipalakpak nyo ng 4 na beses, pero dapat kasabay ng pagbigkas sa first line. Hindi ko siya magawa kasi hawak ko yung mic, so kayo na lang dyan. Okay? So, next we have elements of poetry. So, under this, we have theme, tone, diction, and setting. So, later, may iba pa tayong elements. So, hindi lang naman yan 4. So, in theme, it is the central idea of the poem. So, isa rin to sa pinakamahalaga at una mong gagawin. Kasi, without theme, you are not able to start your piece, your idea. Kasi, saan naman ba manggagaling yung poem mo? Saan mag-i-start, diba? Sa tema. So after you have created or formulated your theme, you're able to start with your title and then your stanzas. Next, we have tone. It talks about the writer's attitude towards first the subject and the audience being addressed in the poem. So commonly, about siya sa emotion ni writer habang sinusulat niya yung piece or yung poem. And sa yung tone na 'to, hindi lang naman siya about kay writer. So, mafi-feel din 'yon ni reader. And ang tawag naman doon sa point of view ni reader ay mood. Next, we have diction. It is the poet's choice of words or for example, si writer or si author or si poet, yung poet po dito, yun yung tawag sa taong nagsusulat ng poem. Okay? So, sa diction, pwede siyang gumamit ng formal language, informal. So, ano ba yung mga informal? Yung slang, colloquial, and so on. Next, setting. It describes the time and place. Alam niyo naman na yung setting. So, yan yung pinakamadali sa elements ng poetry. Pero sa mga common poem po, hindi naman lahat ng poem may ma-identify tayong setting doon. So, saan natin siya makikita? Sa narrative poem. Since ang narrative poetry po, it tells a story. So, basically, it has settings. So, here in diction, ayan, so we have types of diction. We have formal, informal, colloquial, slang, abstract, concrete, and poetic. So, here in formal, it is proper and we use it for academic setting. So, kailangan proper and academic language yung ginagamit natin. So, for example, henceforth, I shall endeavor to persist. Sobrang formal ng words na ginagamit ni writer. So, when you are writing a formal letter or formal text like as in school, so you do essay, research, and so on. So, ano ba yung mga dapat yung ina-avoid na words sa pagsusulat when you are formulating formal text? So, you should avoid doing or using jargons, contractions. Ano ba yung jargons? Yun yung mga specific words or yung mga words na ang nakakaintindi lang ay yung nasa specific field or work. For example, kaming teacher, kapag kapag ginamit ko sa simple text or for example sa inyo, pag sinabi kong sige nga gumawa kayo ng SF2. So, are you able to understand what's the meaning of SF2? 'Di ba? Hindi. So, yun yung mga jargon, yung mga specific words na ginagamit lang in a specific field or work. Okay? So, aside from that, ano-ano pa yung mga dapat nating ina-avoid? Ayan, contraction. Yung contraction, yun po yung nagsho-shortcut ka, yung pinapaiksi mo yung mga words, yung phrase, yung isang phrase. For example, I am, ginagawa mong I'm. Yung do not, ginagawa mong don't. And so on. Ano pa? Yung paggamit mo ng personal pronouns like yung I, me, mine, and yung iba pang pronouns na informal tignan kapag nagsusulat ka ng formal text. Okay, next we have informal. It is casual or conversational. So commonly, itong informal up to this lang, ginagamit natin siya more likely sa daily conversation natin. So, pwede kang gumamit ng contraction dyan, ng abbreviation, and so on. Next, colloquial, it is used in regional or cultural expressions. Next lang, the modern informal terms or ito yung mga commonly ginagamit sa yung mga sinasabi nating salitang balbal, ayan, salitang kalye, pwede rin yung ginagamit ng mga Gen Z ngayon kapag nagchat-chat tayo, 'di ba? So, ganun po yung example ng slang. Next, we have abstract and concrete. So, itong dalawang to, they are related to each other and mas madali natin siyang maintindihan. So, kapag sinabing abstract, from the word itself, vague, unclear, or general, most likely yung ginagamit mong words. So, commonly it describes ideas or emotions and commonly, wala siyang tangible things, hindi siya nape-perceive ng senses natin. So, for example, the words like freedom, love, and sadness, we are able to understand its definition or its feelings, pero we can't or hindi natin siya nahahawakan physically. Okay? So, commonly din sa abstract yung paggamit ng mga general terms. Ayan. So, next, dito naman tayo sa concrete. So, it describes tangible things. So, dito, pinapagana na natin, nape-perceive na siya ng senses natin. So, for example, kung yung gumamit tayo ng word like rose, rain, and fire. So, yung rose, hindi lang natin siya nai-imagine yung physical or tangible aspect ng rose, but also yung texture niya, lalo na yung stem ng rose. Ano ba yung texture ng rose? Ay yung stem niya, 'di ba? Spiky, rough, yung petals, soft, ganyan. So, ganun po sa concrete. Sa concrete, you are using specific words. So, wala ka na sa general, hindi na abstract. Okay, and poetic, commonly ginagamit to sa pagsusulat ng poem. So, it is beautiful, expressive words like silver moonlight dancing on water. And commonly sa poetic diction, mas nagagamit yung figures of speech. Okay, so next elements po, we have symbol. It uncovers by looking beyond their literal meaning. So, commonly sa mga stories, lagi pong ginagamitan ng symbol yan ng mga writer. So, bakit kaya ba? Ano bang purpose ng symbol? So, sa symbol, hindi ka lang magbe-base sa literal meaning niya. So, i-connect natin yung pictures kanina sa quick game natin. So, di ba, earlier, I've shown you some pictures and I ask you to interpret it, identify it, and so on. So, di ba kanina, sa first picture, we have a swing. Siyempre, yung literal meaning niya, swing, swing. So, ano bang nafe-feel mo kapag nakakita ka ng swing? Sabi sa sabi ng isang student from other section, kapag ang interpretation niya para doon sa nakita niyang swing, before daw nung bata siya, kapag tuwing nakakita siya ng swing, ang nafe-feel niya ay excitement, natutuwa siya kasi 'di ba? Totoo naman 'yon na nung bata pa tayo, ever kapag nakakita tayo ng swing or ng playground, 'di ba? Sobrang sumasaya tayo. Nagbibigay siya ng excitement sa atin. But then, upon growing up, sabi niya, hindi na gano'n yung nararamdaman niya. So, yung swing na nakita niya sa picture, parang nag-indicate daw yon ng feeling of loneliness, sadness, since based din doon sa scenario, yung itsura ng picture, parang ang lungkot. So, habang tumatanda daw, parang nalilesen na rin yung na-feel nating excitement towards those things. Okay? So, later, aalamin pa natin more about dito sa symbol. Next, we have imagery. So, so use words that appeal to senses to evoke a sensory experience in the reader. Kaya marami rin talagang nag-enjoy sa pagbabasa kasi kahit na nagbabasa kayo, you are able to experience everything that is written in it. Okay? So, hindi ka lang simpleng nagbabasa, hindi ka lang simpleng nag imagine ng ganap sa text or kung ano man, but also, your senses are also moving or nayu-use mo yung senses mo. Katulad lang din ng sinabi ko kanina. Next, figures of speech. So, any intentional deviation from literal statement or common usage that emphasizes, clarifies, or embellishes language. So, here in figures of speech, dito ka na gumagamit ng mga malalalim na salita. Kasi 'di ba commonly sa poem, you are not writing explicitly but implicitly. So, hindi ka ganun ka obvious magsulat kasi gumagamit ka ng flowery words, gumagamit ka ng deep words para kasi yun yung style ng poem para gumanda siya. And para mas maging malalim siya kapag binabasa ng mga readers. So, here in our symbol ulit, there are things to consider. Hindi pwedeng, for example, ayun nga, yung sa picture ng sunset naman, oo, sunset siya, pero ano kaya yung meaning behind that sunset? So, so there are things that should be considered. So, first, the context. Second, the cultural differences. And third, authorial intent. So, baka merong meaning yon behind the thing. So, dapat kapag nakaka-encounter tayo sa mga nababasa nating books and so on, dapat inaalam natin to. So, wag tayo agad-agad na magja-jump into conclusion. So, for example, are you familiar with the story of The Bench? So, yung The Bench, isa siyang American literature. So, yung overview ng The Bench, as in yung upuan, ang setting nun sa story ay nasa train station. So, 'di ba commonly sa train station may mga bench doon, may mga upuan. So, ang nakalagay doon sa bench, may signage ang nakalagay for white only. Again sa American literature to. So, commonly, ang context niya, ang cultural background doon ay American people. Ayan. So, anong meron doon? May signage ang nakalagay for white only. That means, before kasi, made discrimination between black and white American. So, ang allowed lang na umupo doon sa bench ay yung mga white American. So, though, kung sa una mapapaisip ka, bakit The Bench yung title ng story? Pero ayun pala, ginamit siyang symbol to express the context, the cultural differences, and so on. Okay? So, I hope you're getting it. So, next, sa symbol, hindi lang naman puro object yung ginagamit natin. 'Di ba? For example, gagamit tayo ng pwedeng color, pwedeng animal. Okay? So, for example, kung sa color, kapag ginamit natin ay yung color red, so, pwede ang sinisimbolize niya ay passion, love, anger, danger, or violence. Kapag naman green yung ginamit natin, pwedeng about siya sa nature, sa growth, envy, and renewal. Kapag naman, how about kapag gumamit ka ng color blue, ano yung possible or common symbolism nun? Pwedeng it talks about sadness, it talks about peace, it talks about commonly emotion, ayan. So, it depends on the symbols you use. Nag-iiba yung meaning niya, yung expression niya, okay? Kaya mahalaga na kapag nagbabasa tayo, pinapagana talaga natin yung critical thinking skills natin para na iintindihan natin siya ng mabuti, na-analyze natin mabuti. Next, pwede rin tayong gumamit ng animal like For example, lion. So, nag-symbolize siya for courage, strength, and royalty. Ayan. So, object, katulad lang din ang sinabi ko kanina. Okay, so next we have imagery. So in imagery talks about our senses, also our movement and internal feelings. In our senses, again, we have sight, sense of sight. Kapag meron tayong sense of sight, syempre, may na-visualize tayo. So for example, the golden sun sunk behind the hills. Kapag ganyan yung nabasa mo sa isang poem, ano yung nakakreate na image sa isip mo? So basically, may nakikita kang sunset kasi it describes the golden sun sunk behind the hills. Okay, how about in auditory or yung sense of hearing naman natin yung gumagana. So for example, the thunder roared like a lion. Though binabasa lang natin siya, we are also able to imagine its sound because of the words that is evident to the text, like the word thunder. Thunder roar like a lion. Next, olfactory or the sense of smell. For example, the scent of jasmine filled the air. So dito naintindihan mo na yung scent daw ng jasmine ay na-filled yung air. Okay, next, gustatory or our sense of taste. So sabi dito, the soup was salty and sweet. Tinikman mo ba? Hindi. Binasa mo lang, pero naintindihan mo, sinabi sa text yung lasa niya. It is salty and sweet. So, hanggang sa, okay, we have kinesthetic or movement and organic, our internal feelings. Okay, next, so we have figures of speech. So first po ay metaphor. So in metaphor, you are comparing two things without using words like or as. So it is clear that in metaphor, you are comparing two things or two objects to certain things, pero hindi ka gumagamit ng word ng like or as. For example, she has a heart of gold. Time is a thief and the world is a stage. So, ano yung pinagko-compare dito? Sa first line natin, ano yung pinagko-compare dyan? Yung she and heart of gold. Okay? Ano pa? Yung time. Katulad daw ng magnanakaw. Time is a thief. And the world, ano yung, saan kino-compare yung world? Sa stage. Okay. How about in simile? So, they are mostly the same, but here in simile, you are using the words like in as, like or as. Okay, so pare silang may kino-compare, pero si simile, gumagamit siya ng like or as. For example, white as a sheet, busy like a bee, he fought like a lion. So as you can see, gumamit dito ng as, ng like. Okay? And then third one is personification. Here in personification, you are giving human traits to non-human things or nagbibigay ka ng buhay sa mga non-living things. Okay? So for example, the wind whispered secrets. So ano yung evident na human trait dito sa first example natin? Yung word na whispered. Ayan. So, kanino siya nagbigay ng human trait? Kay wind. Okay? Another one, the flowers danced in the breeze. So, ano yung non-living thing natin dyan? Yung flowers. And ano naman yung human traits na ginamit or human trait na ginamit? Yung word na danced. Okay? So, commonly, yung mga verb natin, ayan, since talks about actions. Next naman, irony. It implies the opposite of what is stated or expected, or it is far from what you are expecting to happen. So, for example, a fire station burns down. Ano bang purpose ng fire station? To cool down the fire. Pero dito sa irony, opposite yung inaasahan mo mangyayari. Okay? So, next example, a pilot afraid of heights. Okay? So, ironic siya kasi hindi naman ano ano ba yung mga pilot, 'di ba? Sila yung nagpapalipad ng airplane. So dapat hindi sila takot sa heights. Pero dito nga sa irony, lahat ng ina-expect mo mangyayari ay opposite ang magaganap. Next, onomatopoeia, it talks about words that imitate natural sounds. So, it talks about sounds. Ayan, di ba? Ngayon, nagsusulat na kayo ng script ninyo. Pwede rin kayo mag-incorporate ng mga natural sounds or yung onomatopoeia natin. Next, we have hyperbole. So, it talks about exaggeration to emphasize a point. And commonly, sa hyperbole, gumagamit tayo ng exclamation point para madagdagan yung emphasis sa text. And dito sa hyperbole, lagi yung tandaan, kapag laging parang may OA sa sinasabi, sobrang OA, ganyan, exage. So, it talks about hyperbole. So, for example, I've told you a million times. So, in literal meaning, meron bang makakagawa nun na sinabi ko na sa'yo ng ilang beses, million times. So, ang ginagawa lang, ine-explain lang dyan na ine-exage or ine-emphasize yung point na ilang beses niya nang sinabi. Okay? It doesn't mean na million times talaga. Okay? Another one, I'm dying of boredom. Okay? Sobrang OA. Grabe naman. Na-bored ka lang, mamamatay ka na. Okay? So, next, it took forever to get there. Okay. So, anything that talks about exaggeration or pagiging OA, it falls under hyperbole. Next, litotes uses negation to express a positive meaning. So here you are using negative words, but it expresses positive meaning. For example, not bad at all. Ano yung negative words na ginamit dyan? Yung not and bad. So, kapag naintindihan mo siya, kapag in-interpret mo siya, it means okay naman. Okay? So, next, she's no fool. Ano yung negative words na ginamit? Yung no and fool. So, yun po yung litotes. You are using negative words to express positive meaning. Okay, next, euphemism. It is polite or mild substitute for harsh terms. So, laging tandaan ka, sa euphemism, may sinasab ka na word. Okay, para mapalitan yung mga harsh terms or yung mga hindi kaaya-ayang salita. So, para maging magaan lang yung mood. So, for example, if you are talking about someone death. So, sasabihin mo, he died or she died. So, pwede mong sabihin, he passed away or she passed away. Ganon. So, another one, for unemployed. So, para hindi directly na unemployed yung sabihin mo, pwede mong sabihin between jobs. Okay? Next, for fired. Pwede mong sabihin na let go. Okay? So, next, we have understatement. So, you make something seem less important. So, sa understatement, ginagamit mo to para, alam mo yun, parang umiiwas ka na lang sa topic, umiiwas ka sa diskusyon, sa usapin. Okay? So, for examples, ang situation mo, nagkaroon ka ng severe injury. Pero ang sasabihin mo na lang, it's just a scratch. It's just a scratch. So, parang, ang pinapakita mo, okay lang. Okay? So, another one, merong major typhoon. Pero ang sinabi mo na lang ay, the storm was a bit windy. Ayan. So, last one ay oxymoron. Though, we also have another parts or types of figures of speech. Since marami yun, so ito na lang muna. So, sa oxymoron, you are combining two contradictory words. Okay? So, for example, pretty ugly, bittersweet, jumbo shrimp, living, dead. So, as you can see, magka-opposite or antonyms tong dalawa. Pero, pinagsama sila. So, ang tawag doon ay oxymoron. Okay? So, ano kaya yung difference ng oxymoron sa irony? Yung irony talks about situation. So, may isang situation na opposite yung nangyayari sa inaasahan mo. While yung oxymoron, it's just about a phrase or yung two words na nagko-contradict sa isa't isa. Okay po? So, we're almost done. So, we're here in literary criticism. So, what is literary criticism? It talks about analyzation, critique, comparison, scrutiny, and evaluation of any piece of literature. So, commonly in your junior and senior high school days, nakakagawa na kayo or you are also involving yourself in doing literary criticism. Di lang kayo aware, pero literary criticism na pala yung tawag doon. For example, di ba, meron kayong in your junior high school days, nung mga time na pinabasa sa inyo yung Ibong Adarna, Florante at Laura, di ba, pinabasa sa inyo yan. Hindi nyo lang naman siya binasa ng hindi nyo naintindihan yung text, di ba? So, aside sa binabasa nyo, meron siyang kasamang questions. So, yun na yung ginagawa nyong literary criticism. Di lang kayo aware, pero literary criticism na pala yung tawag doon. Kasi, anong ginagawa mo? Nag-a-analyze ka ng text. Ine-evaluate mo yung text na nabasa mo. So, it aims to deepen readers' understanding, judge the quality of the work, and assess its significance. Okay? Katulad nung sa Prometheus Unbound. So, di ba pinakita ko sa inyo doon yung naging criticism about that poem. So, kung wala tayong literary criticism, wala na tayong pake sa lahat ng literature. So, wala magiging interpretation, walang magiging lesson kung ang ginagawa lang natin ay simpleng pagbabasa. Kasi in literary criticism, we are able to find out something and mas maintindihan pa natin ng mas malalim kung ano ba yung sinulat ni writer. So in literary criticism, we have a lot of lenses or types or literary theories. Pero here in our lesson, we're going to tackle two types from those lenses. So first ay reader response theory. Here, it believes that the text meaning only becomes apparent because there are readers who interpret it. So a reader may employ a feminist lens, a formalist lens, or a Marxist lens depending on his or her knowledge and background. So in reader response theory, from the word itself, response, so commonly, yung literary or analyzation na ginagawa mo dito ay solely nagbe-base po sa opinion mo, sa emotion mo, sa perspective mo, sa nabasa mo, kung paano mo siya i-interpret based sa sa'yo lang mismo as a reader. Okay? So, for example, are you familiar with, syempre ginagawa niyo naman to yung gumagawa kayo ng reaction paper. Yan. So, pwede siyang example ng reader response theory kasi ano bang meron dun sa reaction paper? They want to get your opinion, your reaction sa kung ano mang nabasa or napanood mo. Another one, kung nagawa nyo na yung um, activity about the footnote to youth. 'Di ba? Meron akong 5 questions doon. So, sa fifth question, nakalagay doon if you are agreeing or disagreeing with the message of the footnote to youth or sa advice na meron sa footnote to youth. Kapag ganun yung questions, it talks about reader response theory kasi gusto kong malaman yung opinion mo regarding sa nabasa mo text. Okay? So next and last, formalism. So it proposes that understanding the piece can be done by looking at the text itself. So meaning, you are being objective and ang focus mo ay sa text lang. Hindi hinahaluan ng emotion, ng opinion mo. So, for example, may question ako na about pa rin sa footnote to youth. For example, ang question ko, who are the characters of the story? So, kung characters yung tinatanong, hindi mo naman pwedeng sagutin na ikaw. Okay? Kasi, saan mo lang matatagpuan yung sagot? Sa text lang mismo. So, hindi siya nahahaluan ng emotion mo, ng opinion mo. Basically, lahat ng sagot ay sa text mo lang kukunin. Hindi siya affected ng background ni author, ng background ng yung cultural background, and so on. Basta sa text ka lang naka-focus. So, before we end this lesson, let me read this quotation. So, poetry is more than words. Arranged beautifully, it is a bridge between the poet's craft and the reader's imagination. We understand it by studying its form, but we truly appreciate it when we allow it to speak to us personally. So, I hope you've learned a lot today and good luck po sa magiging midterm examination ninyo. So, before I formally end this lesson, ang kasama po sa lesson 2 ay yung part ng figures of speech, hanggang part po ng figures of speech. And don't worry, I'll be providing a reviewer para po mas maging convenient sa inyo yung pagre-review. So, thank you so much and goodbye!